Hi, hello, I'm Sam Harrison. I read, review, and discuss fantasy and science fiction books. And today, I'm here to talk with my good friend Andre, my Cosmere Consigliere, and he and I are going to discuss day
Blue
four,
Lock. We're talking about Blue Lock today.
if only the background didn't kind of ruin that.
Hey, look,
There we go.
Kunigami, right there. There's my boy.
We're talking about Wind and Truth. We're also specifically talking about day four and associated interludes. So, Andre's the guy with the notes. The plan for these is Andre essentially leads it, but I will chime in with my personal thoughts.
Yeah. I should say I didn't say it the last episode, day three, but like I don't generally annotate or take notes as I'm reading books, so this was like I was getting into it and like coming back to ideas later, be like, oh, I need to note this down and things like that. Also, I believe we never mentioned in the day one and two episode that Dalinar asked Kaladin to like be his heir as leader of the Knights Radiant.
Hmm.
In
King of
case,
Urithiru.
yeah, in case like he and Navani don't come out of the other side, and Renarin is like, I got the enlightened spren, so we don't know. This is maybe not the best idea. And Adolin's like, I don't want to be a Radiant. I'm not a Radiant. I can't be the leader of the Knights Radiant. And Kaladin is very like, hey, me,
Hmm.
I hate royalty. So we'll see what happens with that. Maybe that's important. Um,
Hmm.
there was another thing. I think I was like, oh, we should have talked about this, but it doesn't matter. Day four starts off with Dalinar soiling himself.
Yep.
I believe, let me see here. Yeah, Dalinar felt warm, as if he'd slipped into a bath, a touch warmer than was comfortable at first, but then as heat blended with it, and it became perfect, enveloping. Say, Dalinar is just peeing in the pool there,
It seems like it.
and that's just disgusting.
As a podcast, as a video YouTube channel series, we're against peeing in the pool. I just want to make that clear.
I fully honest, it is like I cannot physically do it. I cannot pee in a pool. Disgusting.
Um, my
There is a mental block there, and I will not be taking questions.
my son peed in the bath recently, and
Mhm.
I was like, "Buddy, that's just wasted this entire process."
Yeah, like can't do it in the bath. Like,
Mm,
that's even less. There's no chemicals in there. It's even
gross,
no.
right?
Restart,
Yeah,
rewind. Uh, anyway, chapter 43, the origin of songs. Let's
this
see.
is this is a Dalinar chapter, right?
I mean, as much
We
as any chapter is a single POV,
yeah.
I mean, we start off with Dalinar peeing in the pool at the beginning. So this is our first glimpse of Dalinar after they entered the perpendicularity and
Mm,
Mraize threw the void light, the anti-light knife at the perpendicularity, sucking him. Well, we don't know who it sucked in, but we find out later today. But sucking in Mraize, Shallan, Renarin, uh, R'Laine, and Gavinor into the spiritual realm, which we will come to see in this day. Um, there was something interesting in this chapter 43. He
mm,
mentions that his father, Dalinar mentions his father, um, later was growing senile. And
mm.
curious to me, like we got very little about the Dalinar or the Colin family before like Gavilar and Dalinar were reuniting the kingdoms. But like the Way of Kings, Dalinar's whole thing is about like, am I losing my mind? Do I need to give up the throne?
Mm.
And it's interesting that that never came up and I'm sure Sanderson had like that whole lineage figured out and whatnot, but that it didn't come up at all before was stuck out to me.
Yeah, I think there's some interesting parallels here, of course, with Eshonai and Venli, who
Yeah,
are
their mother.
also, and I think Eshonai and Venli, I would say even more parallels with Dalinar and Gavilar. So we got
Mm-hmm.
like Venli, who's kind of working on some shady shit in the background, in the same
Mm-hmm.
way Gavilar was. And then we have
Mm,
Eshonai, who's the warrior, who's the fighter, the sensible
mhm,
one.
mm.
Although obviously Dalinar isn't the sensible one until after Gavilar is dead.
Sure.
But their mother going senile
Hmm.
versus their father.
Mm.
And is this where we learn that a lot of Gavilar's motivation to start the kingdom was like how poorly they were treated? Or is that later
Uh
on?
oh, I think that's later on.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
But
think that kind of comes in like, yeah, I think that's probably like day 5, 6 or something. But
but yeah, there's definitely some interesting parallels there.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I hadn't thought of that until you brought that up, and I was like, oh yeah,
Mm.
like one of Venli and Eshonai's big talking points is that their mother is going senile, is
Yeah,
losing her memory.
dementia. Yeah.
And that's something that obviously we're talking about here with Colin Senior.
Yes. Um, let's see. So yeah, here we get Dalinar trying to reunite with Navani. He doesn't know anybody else is in there. Nobody does. Just Navani and Dalinar know about each other, and so they are trying to pull themselves to each other, and then find their way to the scene that Wit handed them a rock from to see the arrival of humans on Roshar,
Hmm.
which I believe happens in a later chapter. Um, let's see. Then we get some Shallan stuff as Shallan ends up in the spiritual realm. There was, let's see, what was my note here? So yeah, um, somebody going to kill Baado Mishram? Are they going to some use that? Oh, they've got she's got a void light knife that she
Hmm.
stole from that that she snagged off Mraize or Eatil or in this conflict. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, are we going to stab a Spren with it? Are we going to kill Baado Mishram? What
Hmm.
happens if they uh, shank Odium?
Yeah.
Or like the power of honor is just hanging out? Is somebody gonna just like, bah? I mean, it's a little knife. Shalon called little knife this whole time. I'm
Yeah.
raised. Uh, appropriate maybe for her to hold this little knife. Uh,
Definitely.
so I was thinking here, like, okay, there's is gonna somebody gonna stab someone, or like, is Ba'ado Mishram going to become honor?
Hmm.
Because there's all this talk about Bam taking up Odium, and like, oh, Odium is scared of Ba'ado Mishram. Could Ba'ado Mishram take up honor?
Hmm.
Is Gavinor? We know Gavinor's in here. Is Gavinor going to take up honor somehow? Uh, he's like, he's got this like, oh, I'm going to seek revenge type thing. Like, I want to get revenge for my father's death. Would honor like latch onto that?
Hmm.
Or he's angry. Does he somehow end up as Odium?
Yeah.
I'm just throwing spaghetti at the wall at this point. I'm just like, okay, what's sticking?
It
Uh,
it feels like Gavinor is like a really big plot device almost. Like he's not much of a presence in terms of him as a character, but
I
a lot
mean,
of things are spinning around him, and there's a lot
I
of
mean,
possibilities
he
around him.
disappears for like, I don't think he shows up until day 5 again,
Mm.
maybe. But yeah.
Because they kind of lose, like Shallan, Relaine, and Renarin kind of lose him in the shift,
Hmm.
don't they? Because he's not. They don't know that he's actually there.
Hmm.
because he's drawn in with Lift. Hoyd saves Lift, but
Mhm.
he's drawn in.
Let's see. I'm not sure where I made this note. I didn't highlight this part. If a spren is enlightened, can it travel off world? Is that how spren end up able to leave Roshar? Because
But
we've got a lot of Gliss and Toomey, the spren of Renar and Relaine. There was something was said here. I'm not sure exactly where it was,
but
but
design isn't a corrupted slash enlightened spren.
we don't know.
Pretty certain, right?
I'm at this point in the
Although,
story, I'm just like, we design is in the real world, is outside of the cognitive realm.
mm,
We don't know. I
um,
again, spaghetti at a wall, just like, okay, what's going on here? Does Ja not working with the Spren, somehow allow them to leave the cognitive realm or something?
yeah.
Um,
There's definitely, I think that design bonding with Wit Flash Hoyd is interesting because he's the only non-Rasharan to bond a Spren. Apart from, we find out Yatil has a Spren, but like on page characters, that most of them have that
we don't know that.
connection.
We don't know
Yeah.
that. Or
Uh, uh,
we don't
mm,
know that.
yeah. I was just thinking
There are
like,
plenty.
oh, maybe it's something. Maybe the thingy, the corrupted Spren, can bond people that normally wouldn't bond, which is why we
I
see
I
Relaine and
believe there is.
Renarin.
That's more just because they're kind of outcasts, and like Ja not working behind the scenes and
Mm,
manipulating things to her own end. But there's also, yeah, I don't think there's anything preventing an off-worlder, like a Rosharan could eat Lerasium and become a Mistborn.
mm,
Like,
interesting.
there's nothing preventing that from happening. Like, just creating a bond. Felt, for example, could bond a Spren, but would need to attract a Spren by his actions and whatnot. But uh,
Mm.
some great pattern stuff. Oh, you mean murder? Shalon is good at murder. Yes. Pattern, she said. Please don't say it that way. Some really great pattern stuff in this book.
Yeah, Pattern's great. Like I think we all know that Pattern is great.
hmm we get some how the spiritual realm works. This place, Pattern Wonder, is affected by your thoughts, your memories, your soul too. Your soul can make things appear without thought. It might be difficult to take care. We will stay close. And I'm thinking here we're going to get the real version of what happened with Shalon's mother, because she is like time and time again uh, deflected off that and like diverted her attention, looked away, blacked it out, stopped listening whenever it comes up.
Mm.
Like, okay, she doesn't have control. It's going to be subconscious or something. It's going to appear. And then good pattern said, excellent, even let's go murder some folks.
Excellent.
He's no chill, and it's great, fantastic. Uh, we get some more Zeph and Kaladin because they don't sleep, and Nightblood again, just doing work. Nightblood
Mm.
talking to the Honor Blades, talking specifically to the Stoneward Blade, and being like, "Hey, what if you just didn't cut through this bag?" And the Honor Blade being like, "Okay, I'll
That
just
I
not
enjoyed that.
cut this bag." So what? Uh,
Um,
because we've never gotten like we've never had like an idea that the Honor Blades have any sort of personality. We don't get them like speaking or anything, but I guess they are sharp like pieces of honor. So
mm.
like they have that intent. They're not that different from a spren, I guess.
Yeah, there's definitely like there's something going on across like the honor blades, like where do they come from? They obviously confer the same abilities as certain types of spren. Is that like
Well, the Spren it goes the other way. It's the Honor Blade came before the Spren and the Knight's Radiant, so the Spren are mimicking the Honor Blades.
hmm, interesting?
Hmm.
But
I mean,
like
yeah, they're just like, hey, that's cool. What if we did that? And then they kind of do it better because of like the symbiosis or whatever.
and there's like I think in my head there's a bit of like a thought of okay, so if that works like this, then maybe something else works like that, you know?
Mhm.
Like not something like if that works in this particular way, is there, for example, like if it goes, you know, if the Spren are copying the Honor Blades, where do the Honor Blades like come from in terms of their disparate abilities? Why is it, you know, 10
Mhm.
different abilities, sorts of things?
Because 10 is the number of honor.
Hmm.
Symmetrical. It's good. These are all things that like why are there 16 powers in Mistborn? You know, it's the different the different shards like different numbers. Why are there 9 unmade? Because Odium likes 9.
Hmm. That's interesting again.
Now, which shard likes 6? Because you get them and Odium together, you got a very nice shard.
Hmm.
So,
There's yeah, there's definitely something going on in terms. I think there's something in the background of my head that I'm trying to connect.
mhm.
It'll
It's
come to me
probably already
eventually.
connected, and it's probably known. But yeah, but there are 16 shards. The Cosmere logical numbers. You know, they have significance. Different shards like different numbers. Uh, XYZ. But if you think of something else, you know, bring it up, and we'll see if we can work
Hmm.
through it. We get some also in this Zeth and Kaladin chapter. They make it to the next, like monastery that they're going to on their pilgrimage, the second monastery, for the Truth Watchers, I believe.
Hmm.
And they find this town where the people aren't as like in a bad spot as they were in the Stoneward area. They're just like normal and like we're being attacked every night by people. And they go into the monastery. They find the honor bearer is dead already and
Hmm.
has some stuff. Uh, the will shaper honor bearer. Um, let's see, what does it say? It says, "I will not bow to him."
Hmm.
And yeah, so and to who will not bow to who? We didn't talk about the voice in day 3 and some of the flashbacks when Zeth kills the guards who are kills the guard who attacks him, and it's like, I am the voice of the spread of the stone, kill this man,
Hmm.
right? uh and then he keeps hearing this voice walking him through like, okay, if you want to succeed at this oh, actually that comes up later in this chapter when he gets to the Stoneward Monastery and begins his training.
Hmm.
um let's see, then we get to, I'm just going through the chapter order. I don't know if there's a better way to do this, but time wise I don't know what to do. um Going through in note order. Let's see, we get we get to see the arrival on Roshar of the humans coming through
Really
the
enjoyed
portal.
that.
Yeah, it was a really cool scene. Uh, I was very excited to see that. There was a moment where so Navani and Dalinar are together here, and they're embodying singers and seeing this happen for the first time, or the
Hmm.
only time, but seeing this happen. The singers standing near Navani and Dalinar had abandoned their prayers and were now muttering to themselves. One female and mumbled, "Such strange skin patterns." Navani hesitated. That singer seemed familiar. Why?
Oh, is it Raboniel?
But Raboniel was not around till like 2 generations later.
Hmm.
Raboniel wasn't there when they arrived, which comes up in Rhythm of War. Um,
Damn, I thought I'd
but
beaten you there.
yeah, I know, right? I was like, oh, that's good. Wait, no, because Raboniel does mention she was not right there. She was not there right away. But or maybe I'm misremembering. It could be Raboniel, but
I mean, like,
yeah,
I'm just thinking in my head, like, what singer does Navani have
exactly.
contacts
Yeah,
and knowledge of?
that,
And is
let's
it
see.
something like that, or is it something like the like, are they in some way related to the tower?
Hmm.
Because obviously there's something Spren related there, isn't there? So we've just got to think like, is there something Spren related? Because there's something going on.
Hmm. Yeah, it's hard to say, but that was very confusing to me because we also know there's other stuff like going on uh here. But it could be one of the fused. It could be one of the fused, Leshwi or something. Leshwi was in the tower. It could have been, you know, something, probably one of the fused, but we don't really know. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah. But that's a good guess, as good as any. At least, it's more than I have. But I was
Nailed it.
thinking, like, is this like Eotil or Mraize, and she's somehow sensing them and be like, oh wait, I've seen this person around the tower, but even though they're in a singer body,
Hmm.
which, but I'm like, why she wouldn't have like seen them enough to like make that connection? And there's never an answer for this, reader. There's never an answer. I'm just going to tell you right now, whatever we're theorizing about. But very cool scene. They talk to a simulacrum of Hoyd,
Hmm.
spiritual realm version of Hoyd, who knows he is not the real Hoyd and
I
causes
enjoyed
him
that.
to have a mental and metaphysical collapse, which is really good.
That was really
Um,
good. I like that it was the like, yeah, the spiritual realm just can't deal with him. Like
yeah,
he's too his own thing.
yep. There's too much going on there. I can't recreate. Too much work. Um, we do get Shalon, Rain, Relaine, and Renarin, and then like all their spren coming into this scene and like scouting it out, trying to find Mraize and Eotil.
Hmm.
Uh, good quote: "When you had an abusive father and an insane mother, you learned to act." And then that
That's
was
not
when I
going to come
realized,
back
like,
later.
I was like, "Oh, Shalon is going to see her mother finally." That was like another realization, like, "Oh, we're building to this thing that people have theorized for months, and we're going to find out, or the years at this point. We're going to see if this fan theory pans out." And we have a little showdown around a cow that of Mraize and Shalon going at it, and then like attracting the attention of some gods of maybe Odium because they're
Hmm.
doing stuff they shouldn't be doing in the spiritual realm, like trying to summon shard plate, which is interesting. Let's
Definitely.
see. Hmm. We get talking about Navani melting a man's eyes straight out of his head. Ah, and we get some more stuff about the voice.
Hmm.
This is where you belong. It had a moderate pitch. He couldn't decide if it sounded male or female. We got this androgynous voice. I was thinking, is this an unmade? Is
Yeah,
this,
I was thinking
is,
like, is this Bardo Mishram
oh
or is
yeah, is it
this
Bado Mishram?
Shana?
Is it Janat? Is it this Aether of Stone? I talked last episode like Aether of Night, Aether of Wind, Aether of Stone, or is that anything?
Hmm.
Is it Bado Mishram? I just said Spren here. Why did I just say Spren? Oh, let's see. Yeah, that's just the way it talks, I guess. The way the voice speaks. I'm like, is this just a Spren?
Hmm.
I don't know.
Is this a corrupted Spren that's like got too big for
Sure.
its
Yeah.
boots?
Yeah. Or, could be anything. But it is a lot more articulate than we see the stones being when they talk to like Venli.
Hmm.
It's a lot more talkative than the wind is talking to Kaladin. The wind like gets a few words in here or there, and it's like, I'm tired. See ya. Um, so who knows what's going on there? Uh, we do get Adolin playing towers with Yonagon.
I enjoyed that. I like
Yeah.
the through line of
Mhm.
towers that we have throughout this book, really.
It was interesting to me. Like there were like, okay, they're gonna make like a little tactical shorthand using towers, but they never like give Yonagon a chance to like do like some backline like commanding, like, oh, there's nobody to like give commands, so I'm gonna give commands based on my experience playing towers with Adolin or something, and like
Mm.
push someone back. Spoilers, I guess, for saying something that doesn't happen. But I expected that to happen. Like it would build up to something like that. But
I think we'll get more towers stuff. Now it's been established, and it feels like Brandon probably has created an entire board game with rules somewhere.
maybe,
Um,
yeah,
Now it's been
that'd be cool.
established. It feels like it's something that's gonna
Yeah.
reoccur. I
Mhm.
don't think it's been mentioned before, right? Or like,
It's absolutely been mentioned, like
I
in
know people talk about stones.
Oathbringer, it came up.
Hmm.
Like when Kaladin is meeting the Parshendi for the first time, like the new singers, I guess, after the Everstorm has come and they've regained their minds, they're trying to play towers, and they're like,
Mm,
I've seen them play it 100 times. I should know how to play this, but I don't because my mind wasn't working.
of course, yeah.
There's this really great Adolin moment where he's thinking about his brother. I don't know if it's I guess it's when he's letting Yonagon mess around with the shard plate, and he
Mm,
thinks about back to when Renarin was learning to use it and doing his training. Once he could always count on Renarin being nearby, but now he was a Radiant, and although he wasn't a Windrunner, he was learning to fly. While Adolin just kept going on as he always had, same old Adolin,
mm.
which is like, my guy, you have done some wild stuff, you know, even without being a Radiant. And like, he doesn't seem like he wants to be Radiant. He hasn't made the effort to like give up his shards or anything. He's like, no,
Mm.
I, I like what I'm doing. I like the way I'm living, but he puts this negative spin on it, which is very un-Adolin, right?
Yeah, I think we're seeing his conflict a little in this book. Well, m way more than we've seen before.
Hmm.
And that conflict being kind of like, who am I amongst the Radiants sort of thing.
Hmm.
Um, but there's definitely something like, I don't know. It comes up more later, doesn't it? So I'll
Yeah,
leave it.
sure. Um, Yonagon, Adolin said, dealing cards. I've been breaking the heart of Scribe since I was 14. I'll manage.
Hmm.
I don't even know what he's managing. Oh, uh, oh,
Oh,
it'll
because
get, he's,
May
call me by my
Aladar.
name. Call me by my name. And he's like, it'll give the Vizier's heart attacks, but, uh, I don't want to cause you trouble. I've breaking hearts subscribed since I was 14.
Brutal.
Uh, let's see. About a people who learned their actions. Uh, ah, so this we get Kaladin kind of. Oh yeah, so we get towards the end of this fourth day, we get Kaladin practicing the flute, trying to
Mm.
pump out some notes, get something going. He's thinking about the voyage of the Wander Sail, which I believe Wit told him when he was sitting in a jail cell after
Mm.
the
Isn't
incredible duel.
I thought the Wonder Sail was the Chasm
Oh,
tune. It's the
you're
Chasm
right.
tune.
That is from Way of
And
Kings. Fleet
yeah,
is in Words of Radiance. You're right.
and I
I
feel
I
like
gotta hand in my consigliere badge.
this is kind of another this feels like another step in what I was saying before, where it feels like Wit is lining up Kaladin to be the new Hoyd, like
Sure.
taking
Okay.
him on as an apprentice, like
I mean,
being like,
it's not
I'm
even, I
teaching
don't
you.
think, to be a new Hoyd. He's just always finding people to take under his wing and also like torment in his own little sick way. Help and torment at the same time.
I feel like this specific instance with Kaladin for me is like, yes, he's really trying. He's trying to put together like in this book. It feels like he's more than just taking Kaladin on in like a, you're a sad lost puppy and I want to
Mhm.
fix you up, and more in a like, if something happens to me, I can trust Kaladin to carry on and protect and
Hmm.
be the new
Uh,
Hoyd in a way that he doesn't with other characters that he takes often as like apprentice world singers or whatever.
Maybe. Yeah. We'll have to see. We do. Sanderson has said Hoyd is going to be a viewpoint character in more Mistborn books going forward. So we'll see. Uh,
Hmm.
but yeah, there is certainly he has been like trying to get Kaladin, like he's been trying to kind of recruit him since Way of Kings.
Hmm.
Absolutely, that's why he keeps showing up and being like, "Why aren't you playing that flute? You lost my flute? Are you kidding me?" Uh, and so it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But yeah. So thinking about the Wander Sail and a huge thing. So we talked about people who add and subtract being this
Hmm.
motif, and then also choice, who chooses. Kind of going back to Rhythm of War, the big scene with Maya at the trial. We chose. You can't
Hmm.
have my choice. Um, and then Zeth saying, giving up. Like, tell me what to do. Just tell me what the right thing to do is, and I'll do it. Throughout this whole book, and that's kind of his thing. Just words in his ears. But the thing, the voice, much like in the Wander Sail, the voice, not the voice in the story, and that's the voice, but whatever's, it's dead. It doesn't matter what, because you're
Hmm.
responsible for your choices, no matter the what that voice is saying, or what the laws are telling you to do.
And
Uh,
again, a very interesting commentary from a man who's part of an organized religion.
yeah,
Interesting commentary on organized religion, I would say.
yeah,
This
absolutely.
particular.
Yeah, absolutely. J- Not just Mormonism, but like any organized
Hmm.
religion, or
Yeah,
like organized, a society, right?
we live in
The
a
emperor
society.
has no clothes, unfortunately. Um, it's this uh making more making more stew, I guess. Your eastern ways have corrupted my sense of taste, Zeth said. I should enjoy this much pepper.
Hmm.
Which also goes back to his flashback, where he's again with the choice. He's making he's helping make the food during the raid when they're up at the monastery, or like in the camp, and he's helping make food, and he's like, okay, I've got the directions. I just fill the divots in the spoon, and then that measures everything out. I follow the recipe, and it's
Hmm.
great. And then the cook comes over, not enough pepper. And then he's like, "What? But I did the thing. I put it in the." And then some other guy's like, "That's way too much pepper. I can't win." Um,
I like the idea that Zeth there is so upset because um the cook made the spoon with the divots.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
like,
Like
she made
this
it.
is your
This should be correct.
yes, exactly.
Which I
But
really, I
I mean,
did really enjoy that.
cooking is like a very free form thing. So,
Mm,
not so much a moral quandary as a lot of other things that Zeth might come up against in his story.
mm,
But there is this just Zeth has no idea. He's asking everyone, "How do I know what's right? How do you know what's right?" And I guess some people, many people, everyone I think goes through like a little crisis of like, oh, am I doing the right thing or whatever. I feel like I've always had a pretty good moral sense of right and wrong. Even, obviously people learn things over time and perspectives changed. Have I always done the right thing, the moral thing? Absolutely not. I've been a piece of shit in my life. Uh,
mm,
but I try not to be anymore and have feel pretty strong sense of morality.
mm,
But it very interesting reading this perspective of someone who's like, I don't know what to do. I'll do anything if you tell me to do it, because if someone's telling me to do it, it must be right.
mm. And there's the interesting side that Zeth actually knows what to do. With the original quandary with the
Yeah.
stone, he knows what to do. He knows you shouldn't move the
Yep.
stone.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is right, and I consider this to be right. But what does everyone want? And he's like,
Yeah.
they let him know, like he says, you made me acquiesce to you by saying that I didn't have to make the
Yeah.
decision you
Like I
wanted, which is really
like I
interesting.
knew what you wanted me to do, and because I mean I didn't want to move either, but like our whole society is based on this idea, this rule, this worship, and then you're telling me that actually if we can forgo that, then
Hmm.
yeah, very interesting. um then they do a little Kaladin and what is this? Uh, but I like participating. I remind myself of that. I'm a person, and I chose again. Choice. Syl saying, "I chose to
Hmm.
come back. I chose to come into the physical realm, and I chose that exactly. What about you? Are you a thing, Kaladin, or a person? Do you move merely because your instincts tell you to, or do you choose to help?"
Yeah.
So again, this chapter especially, choice, choice, choice. A little heavy-handed, right? But it keeps coming up through the book. And you know, why do we do the things we do? Are we choosing to do them? Are we destined to do them? Is someone else moving us? Do we have a choice? All these things. And then da, 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 da. We get some stuff about the old magic and the Night Watcher. So cultivation maybe change the god of night,
Hmm.
or like the personification of night into the Night Watcher, which is like, damn, you kind of killed a god. But it's its own thing now, became a spren, and I really thought we were going to see a more Night Watcher in this book.
Yeah, I feel like we've barely ever seen the Night
just
Watcher
just a little bit in Oathbringer.
because there's the bit where the Night Watcher like Dalinar goes to see the Night Watcher, and then
Yeah,
Cultivation's like, let me handle this.
the the Night Watcher offers Dalinar Nightblood.
I've forgotten that.
He's just like, "Do you want a sword that bleeds black smoke?" It's like, whoa, what? Uh, because that happens before Zeth gets Nightblood. But yeah. This also, I believe, is where uh we get the Syl and Kaladin dance scene. where
Mm.
Cal goes out and does his kata, and Syl turns into a spear, and then he's doing the kata and like throwing out the spear, kind of like doing a thrust, and then Syl is transforming into like her girly self, full size, and they're doing, throwing each other around, or he's throwing her around and stuff. And just the way he wrote it and the relationship between them, I thought was so effective and beautiful. And like probably the most beautiful scene he's ever written.
I did really enjoy this. I didn't catch it. It didn't catch me the same way
Mhm.
as it did you. I did, as I said, I did really like it, and I really
Mhm.
liked. I have been since the beginning of this book very pro Silladin.
Mhm.
And a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's come out of nowhere," and I'm like, I don't know. It feels like it's kind of been happening this whole time.
Yeah,
Um,
I,
and yeah,
yeah.
I'm into it.
I don't even think it's like a romantic thing, or it doesn't even have to be a romantic thing. I don't see them as a romantic uh, relationship. Could it get there? Sure, I guess, but that's not really where I see it. They're just, they're good friends, and because Kaladin is not in a mental space to have a relationship with anybody. Uh, but yeah,
But if it was someone who lived inside his head,
but I mean, it's yeah, no, it doesn't matter because that's not what's happening here. They're just having a good time, and like I think it is his most beautiful scene. Is it
mm,
the best scene, or is it whatever? But just the way it's written and the way these characters interact, I think it here he he was really firing on all cylinders, which he does through most of this book. To be honest,
mm,
it was we got one more. Oh yeah, okay, we got one more chapter, but I just do want to say that there was something weird about the pacing of this book where it felt like I said last time, when like he would cut off on chapter or like POVs when like right when something exciting was happening, is like, and then we're gonna change POV. Like, oh my god, why just let this breathe a little bit more? Let us revel and be excited about the thing instead of drawing our attention away. But I expected the book to be more bombastic, maybe. There's a lot of like action scenes, but
mm.
none of them felt like they really were like, wow, here's the amazing like one-off, everything's blowing up, like end of Oathbringer. Like I
Mm.
was expecting like end of Oathbringer, but we don't really get that, which is fine. And like it's
Uh,
more sustained throughout the entire book. I don't think there was like a low point of this book where like I think all the other books you could say like, oh well, that part is pretty like it drags in this point. I don't think there's any part of this one, partially because of the structure, maybe, but
I think, yeah, I felt I like this was going to be like one big Sanderlanche, the book, and it
mhm,
isn't. It went well, I thought, in terms
mhm.
of
It's
the,
paced very well, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
I like the structure and the pacing. And I think that, as we were saying, like, it's not Sanderlanche, the book. That's more, the Lost Metal is more
The last
Sanderlanche, the
is
book.
just yeah, that's the foot up on the gas. Somebody's got to do it. Kendrick Lamar, TV off, the book. Uh yeah, it's yeah, so that's very cool. And then the last chapter of day 4 is Zeth getting pulled into Shadesmar out of nowhere. Kaladin's like,
That
"Hey,
was good.
hey, where'd Zeth go?" And his like stew, his bowl of stew, and like Nightblood are just like left behind on the thing. He's like, he's just gone. What? Uh, and we get a 2-on-1 fight in Shadesmar of Zeth versus, I guess, 2-on-2 technically, because Zeth Spren is there in Shadesmar, but against the Edge Dancer honor bearer and the Elsecaller honor bearer. And we get some cool interactions there. It's a cool fight for them Death not having a sword basically at this whole fight
Mm,
because he can't. And we get that reveal that his spren is useless.
yeah,
He
I thought
he,
that
he
was really
panics.
funny.
He panics. He's like, you need a weapon. Here's a spoon. Um, also, this would be a question for Sanderson.
Mm,
Oftentimes when we're seeing Shadesmar, we're seeing at least I don't know when like we've seen them like pull out beads and then make like a raft or something, and that's been when they're in like a city like Kolinar, and then they get into Shadesmar like okay, we need to grab stuff, and then we're grabbing like a goblet or like a castle or something, or like we're using the thing.
mm.
But when they're far from like civilization, when they're in the middle of Shinovar, far from like where people are, what are the beads?
Mm.
Like, are they individual blades of grass? Like, or are they just random things? Like, what is it?
Is it
What
from
is there?
what's nearby, or is it from what's like cognitive nearby?
I
Like,
mean, they say like things move kind of like back towards where they're like if you take it too far away, it'll move back towards where it's from, right?
mm,
You can only take it so far or like for so long. But it doesn't matter if you move it, like in the physical world, that doesn't do anything. But
mm,
eventually the bead will like move back that way. So I'd like to get Sanderson's thoughts on that. What the hell's going on?
definitely. There's some interesting
Um,
stuff here.
yeah, cool fight. We get Nightblood's cognition of itself as like a
That
big
was dope.
fiery laser sword, basically, which is cool. I that is like when I say Stormlight hit is just like feel good juice laser right into my brain. It's like that kind of stuff, just like flaming angelic sword type stuff. Dresden has a similar thing when uh he uses the sight on Murphy that first
Mm,
time.
that was dope.
It's like whoa, like that stuff is that's just right in my brain. And then Windrunner stuff and like we're gonna do a spear and then like cool shard plate and stuff's all great. Zeth, I am proud to wield you, Nightblood. That's great. Um,
I feel like Zeth and Nightblood have a really strong relationship in this book.
yeah,
Like as
absolutely.
Nightblood feels like they're coming more into their own and becoming a bit
Yeah,
more
becoming
self-aware.
way more of a character. It's very interesting. And then we
Night,
get another. Oh yeah,
I was just gonna say, Nightblood was almost annoying in Warbreaker. Like I thought that they were good, but like sometimes they would come up with a comment and I'm like, oh, this is Sanderson trying to make a joke.
sure, yeah.
And as I think we may have discussed in the past, I don't think Sanderson is particularly funny. I think
Mhm.
that some of his lines that are maybe not intended to be jokes give me the like hell yeah smile.
There are moments where I'm like, okay, you're trying a little hard, and he's trying to write characters who are smarter than he is, which is exceptionally difficult, and he's talked about that.
Mm,
Um, but I don't think anyone is I don't think there is a single person on the planet that is the kind of funny that wit is supposed to be.
mm.
Nobody exists with that kind of sense of humor, or like that like technique, or and
Thought
he's supposed to be
process.
annoying or whatever and annoy people, bother people, but uh yeah, there are times where I'm like, oh come on, man. And then other times where he writes like a really good scene where it's just like people goofing, and I think he does a lot better with just the interpersonal jokes instead of like I am
Absolutely, yeah.
trying to be funny now. Um
He does
but
that with Wayne sometimes, where he'll be like, Wayne's a funny character, so he says funny stuff, and I'll be
exactly.
like, 90% of the time this absolutely falls on his face, but the 10% of the time that he does nail it with Wayne, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I love Wayne.
Uh-huh. Uh But the last thing I have, I believe, for this chapter is, Nightblood said, that didn't do what I thought it would. What did you think it would do? Zeth said. I've been chatting with the honor blades you recovered, and I thought maybe I'd give you some other radiant abilities. I'm like, eh? What?
Incredible.
Nightblood give radiant abilities? and like I guess by interacting with the Edge Dancer blade and like by hitting it and like absorbing some of that investiture, maybe. Uh, Big question mark there on Nightblood and like talking to the Honor Blades, give Zeth other uh radiant abilities. Nightblood coming into their own as a character and also
Mm.
becoming much more terrifying in this book. It's much more terrifying with their abilities and things like that.
Yeah, they're
Um,
definitely like Nightblood is definitely a mad character to be
mhm,
so like so important to the story.
mhm,
Um, and it makes me wonder, like, are we getting to the point where we see a like Nightblood become a person, like
mhm.
in terms of like, arms and legs?
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point Nightblood, at least in the spirit or in the cognitive realm, is just a sword with arms and legs. Uh,
Mm.
Kind of like how Pattern is just like super stiff, but like still moves. I was wrong. There is one more chapter, and that is where Renarin, Relaine, and Shallan and all the Spren are in the spiritual realm, kind of hiding out. And then they see Baoda Mishram just yelling at them and scaring them. And we get this gem from Pattern. I have decided I like style, Pattern said. It is a Lightweaver thing, which we are very good at recognizing. He pointed at Baoda Mishram. That is style. This Baoda Mishram looking down at them from the sky, going, I am going to kill you.
Very good.
And then at some point, Navani mentions like a time discrepancy. Um, and I'm not sure where I'm trying to find where that note was, but maybe I can't. There was something here that might have had to do with like, oh, I don't, I don't got it. Um, oh, okay. Maybe something to do with the how fast Radiance age, or not Radiance, listeners age, because by like 7 they're kind of adults or something, and generations maybe being weird with how singers count them versus how humans count them.
Because yeah,
Maybe.
like I'm I'm sure he says that Relaine says that singers are adults by age 7.
Yes,
I'm
yeah.
sure that's a thing.
Yes, that's I believe I'm looking reaching adulthood by age 10, by age 10. So like is 2 generations like 30 years, you know. Yeah, so that Navani is like something's weird about how we've like measured this time or something, I guess, or how far we're moving, and also the like Jezrien and all the heralds when they came from Ashen age incredibly slowly.
Hmm.
Don't really know why. Is it because they're super invested and like good with the surges that Odium gave them, or what? I don't know. Uh, but yeah, so then they all have to run away and be like, bow to Mishram. We got to split up a little bit, I believe. And then that's the end of day 4.
Dun, 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 dun.
Uh,
But we do
we
have
do
cool
set up
interludes.
some more Adel stuff, but that's yeah. Uh, it gives. Oh, we get a Zabra, I think, like the little girl. No, Nora, but oh no, they're like talking about Yanagon and what he needs, and like you can't just like hide him away and not let
Hmm.
him do anything because or not let him like talk to people or whatever because you'll lose him if you do that, overprotective stuff.
Yeah.
Interludes. I want to say
Good ones.
I, I predicted this. I predicted Interlude 7 would happen after I finished Rhythm of War the first time.
Hmm. The
I
blinding,
knew
you were like, it's gonna happen. He's gonna
I
get fixed.
knew no well, no no that no I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt there would be a chapter, an interlude called Moash.
Oh, because of course they were called Buyer
Yes,
in the
yes.
previous books.
Since Rhythm of War, because yeah, at the end of Oathbringer, he gets the title and is
Mm.
Vire all through Rhythm of War, and I'm like, he's gonna. I did not. I expected him to go on a redemption arc
Mm.
and be like, okay,
It's still going to
I
happen, I think. I think we're going to get back to back, brother.
will
Kaladin
we'll
and Moash,
we'll
or
find out.
whoever and Moash.
Well, we do get some very upsetting stuff here with so in the previous set of interludes, uh Odium came to one of the heralds. I forget which one, but not Dova, right? Uh
No.
yeah,
Uh,
but
no, it was Dover. Odium went to Dover to bribe them.
is that right? Yeah, it was. Wow, okay. So that's also interesting for something we'll discuss later.
Mm.
I don't know when, probably day 7, maybe. We'll figure it out. But Dova comes and does some weird hemalurgy type stuff to Moash and puts
Mm.
crystals in his eyes to give him the ability to see investiture, kind of like how Inquisitors have the steel spikes in their eyes and they can
Yeah.
see like metal basically, or they see investiture.
And where do those crystals come from? There's
That's a
something going on
good
there.
question.
Mm.
It's a good question. We don't really know. Um, I believe that'll be probably a Raffo, but I will be surprised if someone doesn't ask Sanderson about it. We're coming up on State of the Sanderson in like 3 days, 2 days.
Yeah. I saw somebody on this complete tangent, someone on BookTube going like, we don't know when Sanderson's going to post his State of the Sanderson. Like, yeah, we do. He posts it on his birthday every year.
He's late
It's
sometimes, but
late. Yeah.
I will be like with Christmas when it is and whatnot. I think he'll probably. I haven't been paying super close attention. I think he'll get it on time this year, maybe.
Mm.
But he leaves behind Vire, the title Vire, and is like, no, I'm gonna own it. I did what I did, and he's
Mm.
not giving up his pain anymore.
I
Uh,
really enjoyed that. And like I do think that the continued push for Moash has been really interesting.
mhm,
Like that he has continued to be relevant to the story throughout the thing.
uh-huh.
I mean, extremely mild spoilers for later days in this book. I do wish he was in this book more.
Mm, mhm.
But that's because I feel like I'm almost invested in like where this
Wouldn't.
character is going to go. Yeah, I'm quite invested in Moash in terms of like where he's going to go, but also like, is this redemption arc going to happen? Is he going to become, you know, a problem for the Cosmere, not just for Roshar?
Sure.
Like, there's some really interesting stuff going on with him.
Hmm. The yeah, the putting the spikes through the eyes definitely sets him up, or at least sets up more like inner Cosmere conflict, or like competition, kind of like arms
Mm.
race, like who has the better tech for seeing investiture and stuff like that. Um,
You could see the, space tier Scadrians
mhm,
having steel Inquisitors as part of the crew, or like people with two spikes
mhm.
as crewmen on their spaceships to see invested entities they might be fighting against.
Um, let's see. Then we have our last one. Uh, last the interlude is Taravangian looking at Carbronth and just his letting emotion rule.
Mm.
And yeah, he just kind of he saved Carbronth. That was like his one thing when he was making a deal with Odium. Like, "You let Carbronth go. I'll help you try and take out Dalinar and all that, and then you just have
Mm.
to let Carbronth be free, be exempt from all the stuff happening." And so his whole thing is still just Carbronth. Cares
Mm.
more about Carbronth than
Anything
anything.
else?
Yeah, and like his family's there, which that makes sense. But
And he talks a bit
uh,
about how he hasn't told his family yet, right, that he's still alive. So they think, like
yeah,
his daughter and grandchildren think
hmm
he's dead.
hmm
He only has one daughter as well, doesn't he? There's not,
I believe
it's
so.
literally
Yeah,
just the
but
daughter.
also he's like 1 billion years old. So
Yeah,
like, how old is his daughter? Like,
probably
he's a
in her
king,
60s or
whatever.
whatever.
But then he's got like really young children or grandchildren, like or like
Mm.
in their like older than your kids, but like not
Teens.
teenagers or like early
Mm.
teens. It very interesting, but he whatever. He's a king. He's got all sorts of opportunities. Um, but I I feel like the one thing we don't get in this book is, for as much of a Taravangian Odium perspective we don't have a good grasp of what his plan is.
Mm.
Why does he need to wage this war across the Cosmere? I guess so he's the only one left. Like, part of it is Odium just wants to rage and destroy everything and make conflict.
Yeah.
But
But what does Taravangian get out of this?
yeah,
And initially it's the like, well, he can save Kharbranth if he can make um there be one god in the Cosmere and he
right,
can make it,
right,
But then, like, if you think down the line, like, what's the actual win here? What's going to
yeah.
happen? There's
Well,
definitely,
he can save them all by pitting everyone in endless war against each other, because they're all letting rage and odium rule. Like, what is the plan there?
isn't the plan like take away free will, destroy all the other shards, become Mega God?
But 'cause his thing is, I can save them all. He wants
Hmm.
to save the Cosmere, and what does that mean? Uh,
Yeah.
and I wish there was a little more of like kind of him, or like something illuminating that plan
Hmm.
for us. But yeah,
It's good to get these villain interludes. Really enjoyable.
they do a really good job. The next set of interludes was like, oh my god, Sanderson has like made a really good villain here,
Mm.
which I guess is best since Set. No, not Set. The Venture. Ellen's dad
Oh yeah, Straff.
is Straff. Yeah, Straff Venture. Maybe his best villain.
Straff was very
So,
good. Yeah.
but even then, he was like so comically bad
Hmm.
that. But I think he like finally made a villain that is like showed why Taravangian Odium is like a credible threat, which was really good. But we'll
Hmm.
get to that, I believe, in the next episode. I believe.
The
Um,
sad part of the Google video automatically switching between who's speaking is that no one has seen all the times that Barry has climbed up onto me, apart from you, where
mhm,
he's literally climbing up and trying to rub his nose into my face.
mhm.
They'll be
Get up there,
gone.
Barry. Come on, Barry.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, but we're seeing a lot of good stuff in a lot of stuff being set up, a lot of questions being raised. We're
Mm.
getting, you know, a lot more points of view. We're gonna get some exciting stuff in the some new exciting point of views in day 5 with like Venli, Sigzil, Yasna.
Yeah. I remember messaging you being like, Venley's back. Because like I'm the only person who likes Venley. Um so like when the
Really have no patience for her flashback chapters, because I'm just like, you you messed up so bad.
Now, I enjoyed that though. I was like seeing her mess up and knowing where it goes to. I was like, oh, this is like proper, not tense, but it's like watching someone fall down a hill in slow motion.
Mhm. I disliked her less on each reread, but I still just and I don't hate her in this book.
Mm,
I think she is much more interesting and less insufferable in this
yeah,
book. We'll talk about that in the next episode.
absolutely. So if you guys have been following this series, thank you very much. We have currently switched to doing 1 day per episode because there's just too much to talk about.
And even
And
then, we could talk about more if we were really on our stuff.
I think, yeah, there's so much to talk about. So please do drop in the comments with your favorite stuff from day 4 and the like points that you think that we didn't discuss that we should have discussed. We'll definitely keep an eye on those comments for next future episodes. Um, I was hoping to post 2 of these a week, but my actual schedule for other videos is so mad because of Book of the Year content I'm trying to put out, that I don't know when these are going to go out. However, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and there will be one at least next week. So there'll be one in the next week, but hopefully, maybe there'll be 2 sometimes.
We're
If you'd
almost
like,
halfway through.
yeah, we are actually almost halfway. Apart from the fact that, like, I'm pretty sure day 9 is like 20% of the book. Like, one of the days is mega long, and I
Uh-huh.
remember being like, "Oh, this is almost done," and then be like, "Oh no, there's so much to go."
Mhm.
But if you like this video, give it a like. If you have stuff to chat to us about, as always, drop down in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so to be notified when we go live with our next video. Thanks so much for watching, and we will speak to you next time.
Invest that like button.